So, today we're going to talk about something that happens in families all over the world. It's this really quiet but super common conflict. And the tricky thing is, it doesn't start with anger. It starts with something that, on the surface, looks a whole lot like love. Yeah, this kind of deep family tension, it almost never kicks off with some big dramatic fight. It just sort of creeps in. It's silent, and it's usually disguised as something we all think is a good thing: family togetherness. And that's really where it all begins. It's not about anyone being malicious or mean. It's about a ritual, a routine, something that, over time just loses that spark of affection it once had. It hardens into something else, something rigid. Okay, to make this feel a little more real, let's zoom in on one specific couple's story. For 7 straight years, they've been stuck in the exact same weekly pattern, a pattern that has pretty much taken over their marriage and their weekends. So here's the deal. Every single Sunday, without fail, they go to his parents' house for the entire day. What probably started out as a nice gesture, a way to show affection for the family, has slowly, week after week after week, morphed into this non-negotiable duty. It's not a choice anymore. It's just an expectation. And that right there, that's the key emotional shift. See, when a loving act becomes mandatory, when you take away the choice, it stops feeling like love. It starts feeling like pressure. It's like this weight that just keeps getting heavier over time. Now, the wife in this story isn't trying to cut off the family, not at all. She's just asking for a little bit of balance, a little flexibility, right? So they can manage their own life, their own home, maybe even just get some rest. But every single time she brings up a totally reasonable request, the answer is always a hard, unmoving no.
And look, while this is just one couple's story, I bet it sounds familiar to a lot of you. It is absolutely not unique. This exact situation is really just a stand-in for a conflict that happens in literally every culture around the world. The details might change, but the core problem is the same.
This is where you see the two belief systems just crash into each other. On one side, you have a parent who genuinely feels that access to their adult child is a basic right. But on the other side, you've got a spouse who knows that for a partnership to be healthy, it has to have its own space, its own rules, its own boundaries. So why is this so hard to solve? Well, to really get it, we have to look past the tradition, past the Sunday dinners, and dig into the powerful emotions that are driving everybody involved. We're talking about fear, we're talking about guilt, and we're talking about the really subtle ways those feelings turn into control. Okay, let's try to see it from the mother's perspective for a second. In her mind, this probably isn't about control at all. It's coming from a deep-seated fear of being replaced. Think about it. For many parents, their value feels tied to their children's devotion. So when that shifts, it can feel like losing your whole identity. She sees it as a zero-sum game. If he chooses his wife, in her mind, she loses. There's actually a clinical term for this whole dynamic. It's called emotional coercion. It's what happens when love and approval are basically held hostage. They're withdrawn unless certain demands are met. The unspoken message is that love isn't free. It has to be earned, over and over again. And for the person stuck in the middle, the adult child, guilt is the tool that makes it all work. It's like a leash. It stops him from setting the boundaries his own family needs because he's afraid of hurting his parents. It's completely paralyzing. So how do you get out of this mess? How do you move forward? Well, it all starts with recognizing a really fundamental principle of adult life. When you get married or form a committed partnership, you create a new primary family unit. Now, that doesn't mean you erase the family you grew up with. Of course not. But it absolutely means your priorities have to reorganize. This chart really breaks down the difference perfectly. A healthy family system, its foundation is genuine connection. Its structure is based on autonomy, letting people be themselves. And the driver is empathy. But an unhealthy system, well, its foundation is obligation. Its structure is what we call fusion. And the driver? It's guilt. And that brings us to this really important psychological idea, fusion. Fusion is what happens when a parent just can't handle their child's emotional world shifting to a new partner. Their own sense of stability becomes totally dependent on their child's compliance. And what does that do? It ends up suffocating everyone's growth. Okay, so we've pretty much diagnosed the problem from every angle. Now what? Let's talk about a framework for actually moving forward. And this isn't about pointing fingers or assigning blame. It's about laying out some clear, actionable responsibilities that are all built around one idea: fairness.
Everybody involved here has a crucial role to play. First up, the adult child. They have to be the one to set and communicate the new boundaries. Respectfully, but firmly, it's their job, not their spouse's. Second, the parent. They have to do the really hard work of realizing that love isn't measured in visits, but in respecting their child's new family. And finally, the couple. They have to be a united front. They need to design their own marriage intentionally.
You know, when you really strip it all away, this entire conflict boils down to a fundamental choice about what love even is. Is it something that's based on security and trust? Or is it a way to control people, a way that's rooted in fear? And that leads us to a pretty profound question, doesn't it? When an adult child goes out and builds their own life, that's growth. That's what's supposed to happen. A healthy family celebrates that. But an unhealthy one? It sees that growth as a betrayal. And it tries to punish it, to pull that person right back into their old role. And this is where we turn the mirror back on ourselves, right? In our own relationships, it's a really good question to ask. Am I loving from a place of security and trust? Or am I loving from a place of fear? Fear of losing control, fear of being abandoned. And for every couple out there, this really is the bottom line. It's the big choice. If you don't actively and intentionally design your life together, your traditions, your boundaries, all of it, then someone else's expectations are gonna design it for you. And your marriage will be built on obligation, not on your own intention. You see, disagreement itself isn't what tears families apart. It's the refusal to deal with a deep structural imbalance. When one person's needs always come first, when one person is doing all the sacrificing, the whole system just can't last. It becomes unsustainable. And really, that's what this whole thing boils down to, this one powerful principle. It's not about being overly sentimental or acting out of fear. The only path to a healthier, more resilient family, one that can actually adapt and grow, it starts and ends with a real commitment from everyone to just be fair. It sounds so simple, but it's everything. It's the foundation for building families that can actually last.